Hey everyone, Tula here with Key Wellness. In my last video, I mentioned the Reticular Activation System and how you can use that to draw what it is you want in your life to you. Now, I do a lot of coaching and helping people to manifest their best life ever. And I know that you see there are a lot of things going around on the internet about, oh, you want to manifest these things. You just have to think really good feelings and you have to match the frequency and you need to be, positive. And while that is all true, I wouldn't take any of that away because I definitely teach my clients that. But that's not everything. And the important part that no one really ever seems to talk about, at least I haven't heard very many people mention it, is your reticular activation system and the role that plays and why and how it is so important. So first of all, I'm going to give you some examples of how I use that in my life, and then we'll talk about the nuts and bolts of how you can apply it to yours. So a real quick recap of some of the quote-unquote miracles that I have manifested in my life. As you know, if you listen to my prior videos, I grew up in the ghettos back in the 60s. The Yankee Stadium area of the Bronx was definitely the ghettos, and it was an all-black and Puerto Rican neighborhood. That's where I grew up. Coming from a family that didn't have much money, coming from parents who'd never been to college, I wanted to become a park ranger. I wanted a career in the wilderness. And to do that, you need a degree in something related to the outdoors. And so my first time that I accessed and activated my reticular activation system was in my desire and my dreams and my goals to become a park ranger. Ultimately, I became a wilderness instructor, a survival instructor. And I lived the life of my dreams. So while I was in high school, there was a lot of pressure for me to go to school to become a politician, to get into law. Those were not things I wanted to do. I wanted to become a park ranger. And so I was very focused on that. I had my dreams. I thought about it 24/7. And next thing I knew, I was accepted into the very school that I wanted to go to. Actually, I wanted to go to Penn State or Slippery Rock University. And I did. I got accepted to Penn State, but as a freshman, you could not be on the main campus, and I wanted to be on main campus. So I turned down Penn State, and I went to Slippery Rock University. And once I was there, I got grants and I got loans to help me pay for it. I got work study on campus, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle to make ends meet, to pay for school and all the things that you needed and still feed myself. Then a co-op program opportunity came around and there were 350 students that were competing for this co-op program. I was one of them. But I was so fixated on what it was that I ended up being one of the 3 out of over 350 students that they chose for this program. Some other things that happened along the way. When I was in high school, I made All-Americans in field hockey. I led our team as the captain to the state championships. We also took state championships in volleyball. I had a lot of passion for both of those sports. I was the team captain in my senior year, and like I said, we went to state champions. But how I got good in both of those sports is that I would go to sleep at night thinking about plays. I would think about movements and maneuvers and things that you needed to be competitive in the sport. And in my dreams, I would play the sport and I would make those moves, and I perfected them. And little did I know at the time that I would rehearse these things over and over and over again in my head when I was awake and in my dreams. I was actually building in the eye-hand coordination, the muscle memory, and I was also building in the confidence because, of course, in my dreams, I always succeeded whenever I tried one of these motions. And so I didn't know it, but at that time I was activating something deep in my psyche that made me excel in these sports. I was literally using visionary skills to perfect my physical performance. But then I learned that I can use these visualization skills as well just to draw to me those things that I want. And that is by activating the reticular activation system in conjunction with visualization skills. And that's what I want to touch on today. Again, this is something I teach my clients and we go into great detail, but I want to give you some real life examples of where, when, and how activating the reticular activation system and using visualization skills will help you to succeed and to draw towards you, to literally bring to you that which you want in your life. Okay, so this first example, when I was in college, as I said, I was struggling. It was a struggle, financial struggle, but I loved it. I was working toward my dream. I was thrilled to be there. So I was fixated on there has got to be something else I can do to fund my college. There's got to be another way to make money to pay for my college. I've maxed out everything that is available to me in terms of grants and loans, but I'm completely on my own. I have no help from anybody, and I need more. I need more. And so I drew to myself, and we'll talk about how you draw these things to you later on, but I drew to myself 2 opportunities. And as I said, I did well in school. I got a really good grade. And I don't say that tritely. I make a point. I got really good grades, which means in addition to using some of the tactics that we will be going over, I did the work. I had an active, physical, kinetic approach to what it was I wanted. I didn't just wish, I didn't just focus, I didn't just dream. I did the work. And the work, the meaningful action that was attached to the dream, to the goal, was to perform well in school. And so I was doing it. That is part of drawing your dream to you. You cannot draw your dream to you if you are not taking the action. And why is that so? It's very simple. You're taking the action because you believe in what you're doing. If you didn't believe in what you were doing, you wouldn't work toward it. But when you work toward it, you are focusing. Your mind is intent on what you're doing, and your mind is very powerful. So by doing the action, you are making your mind focus on what it is you want. That is why you're acting. So you're constantly, it's a feedback loop. You're reinforcing to yourself, I want this, therefore I'm working toward it. Because I'm working toward this, it proves that I want it. It also justifies that I should have it. And so you have this positive feedback loop going. You work for it, you feel good about it, you feel you should have it, you feel you deserve it, therefore you work for it more. See? And so the action, the behavior is very important. This is why when I hear people talking about, oh, just think positive and put yourself on the same vibration, that's great. But that vibration includes certain assumptions, and that is achievement. You must achieve it. We live in a 3D world. We live in a physical world, and you must do the physical action. So that's the first thing. I was getting the grades. Now, because I was getting the grades, I had 2 opportunities open up to me. So the first opportunity was that I was out cross-country skiing one day. I love to cross-country ski. Someone had introduced me to the sport, and through some connections, I was able to get myself a free set of skis and boots and everything. It's a whole nother story, but that also is manifesting because I didn't have the money to buy that equipment, but I was provided with that equipment. Now, I took that equipment and I'm out skiing one day on the trails. And I loved to ski. It was so quiet and it was beautiful, the snow glistening, and you would just hear your heart pounding, your breath, and the sound of the skis swishing through the snow. And so I was out there having this wonderful moment when all of a sudden, the worst of the worst that could happen, other than a snowmobile coming down the trail, was there was a group. Suddenly there was a group ahead of me, and I'm like, why are all these people on the trail in my moment? And so I stayed behind them for a little while, and then I waited for a moment. I knew there was a clearing coming up, and I said, when we get to the field, I'm going to hang back, but when we get to the field, I'm going to blow by all of them. And that way I will be well ahead of them when I get to the uphill on the other side of that trail, and I won't have to deal with these people. And so I did. I hung back, and I'm skiing along, hanging back, and then as they hit the edge of the field, I picked up the pace, and by the time I caught up with the group, I was flying. I went by the entire group, crossed the field, hit that uphill slope, and I was gone. By the time they hit the bottom of the hill, I was gone. When I was done skiing, I went into the lodge, and sure enough, there was that group. And so they said, "Hey, coach, that's her." One of my professors, I did not know, was the coach of the cross-country ski team. And he goes, "Hey," and he knew who I was. And he's like, "That's you skiing out there?" And I was like, "Well, yeah." He goes, "How would you like to be on the cross-country ski team?" I was like, well, I didn't know there was a cross-country ski team, but I wasn't real sure. It wasn't a social thing for me. I'm a bit of a hermit, and I really just liked those moments for myself. But then he told me, he said, "I own another lodge. You can have access to my trails as well. And you can, come use my lodge and whatnot." And I thought, some different trails. So yeah, he knew my sweet spot, but it was meant to happen. So I joined the team and I skied and I loved it. So one day, we were having practice, and I noticed there were a couple of guys there. What the heck they were there for, but what did I care? They could have been a business thing. He owned his own ski trails, and we were at his trails that day. We were out skiing, and I noticed that when we went through came around a bend on one of the loops, those guys were standing there with the coach, and they had stopwatches in their hand. I just was like, that's kind of weird. And I just kept going. Well, later on, when we got back to the lodge, they approached me. And long story short, I was an Olympic hopeful. My performance was such that they felt that they wanted me to try out for the U.S. Olympic cross-country ski team. Of course, I was flattered, but I was also flabbergasted because it never occurred to me that I was good at cross-country skiing. It just occurred to me how much I loved cross-country skiing. And so that's an example of how, by simply pursuing my dreams and what I call riding your sweet spot, I drew this opportunity to me. So now I had this wide open door, right? I had the opportunity to go to the Olympics. So remember what I said in another video about what society values as having prestige or power or influence. And this would have been a perfect opportunity for it. Now, at the same time, I had another professor who approached me about something else. Now remember, I'm struggling and I'm looking for opportunities to help pay for my school. I'm already maxing everything out. I've got all the loans I can take, all the grants I can take. I'm doing work study, a little bit of work on the side. I am maxed out, and I still need to make some more money. And of course, because that is something so important to me and something that I need, I am spending my time, my mind is constantly on the thought, not the thought, I don't have enough money. That is not how I think. I don't think about what it is I don't have. I think about what it is I need. So my thought process was, I need more money. I need more money. I need more money. I want more money. Got to get more money. There's got to be more money. This is how I'm thinking. So this professor approaches me and says, "Have you applied for the co-op program? I think you'd be a great candidate for it." What's the co-op program? I'm not familiar with it. And he explains to me, this is an opportunity to spend only one semester on campus in the fall. You will spend the spring and summer working, real job, with either the National Park Service or with the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and you'll be getting credits. And at the same time, you'll be getting paid. You are literally an employee either for the National Park Service or the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. You will be a park technician or interpreter, depending on what you want to do. But you will have a full-time job, and you will have experience when you graduate. So you will be earning money. You will be living off campus except for one semester on campus. You will be able to walk out on graduation day, walk right into a job, almost guaranteed. Well, I mean, who would say no to that? So I had both of these opportunities before me, both of them. Well, I'll tell you my process. I looked at that opportunity to go to the Olympics, and I am sure that a lot of people would have chosen that route. I did not. And this was my process. I was about 19 at the time, and my thinking went like this. It is not a for sure. I would be an Olympic hopeful. I would be training, but they might provide my equipment. But how do I know that they'll provide my equipment? What expenses will there be? Will I have the money to see myself through? I don't have the money to pay for this. In the meanwhile, even if everything was paid for, what happens to my schooling? What happens to my dream? Sure, I might make the team. I might make the cut. I might go to the Olympics. But what happens after that? What if I don't win the gold? There were so many steps. And someone could look at that and go, oh, well, you were full of doubt. Well, maybe I was. But I'm very pragmatic. I'm a survivalist. In fact, ultimately, my career was wilderness survival, but I am all about surviving. And I looked at that opportunity and I said, that's really nice. That's very flattering. It's actually really exciting. But at this point in my life, I need to lay a solid foundation. If I'm that good, maybe I'll come back later. It's only a year and a half, 2 years before I'm could graduate. Maybe I could try it then. And if not, well, it wasn't meant to be. Meanwhile, the co-op program opportunity looked like a great way to set a solid foundation for my future, make money right here and now, and then when I graduate, I've got a job. So to me, the practical side of me said, this looks like what I said I wanted to do. I love the other, but it's not what I set out to do, and it's very tempting, but I can't be pulled off of my course. I've already set sail, and I've already set my compass on that spot on the horizon, and as tempting as that little island on the side is, I can't go there. And so I disappointed greatly one professor and made the other one extremely happy, because I ended up competing in a field of over 350 applicants, and I was one of the 3 that was selected. And yes, when I graduated, I did walk into my dream job. And so this was, again, how I manifested. Those things were drawn to me through a combination of action, positive thinking, focus, meditation, mental clarity, and my reticular activation system. And also, I teach energetics, and there was an energetic aspect to this as well. Yes, I did match that frequency. That was my frequency. The outdoors, nature, all of that is my frequency, and I was a perfect match for it. And all I had to do was let it happen. Now, I'll say this: when you are manifesting something, you decide what it is you want, and then you let go. You let it come to you how it will. You don't get so attached to the outcome that you miss the forest for the trees, because I said that I wanted that career. It would be easy for me to have gotten locked into, got to finish my college, got to do this and that, and then when I graduate, I'll get the job. That's the way most people do it. And if I had bought into that, if I had locked my brain into that little box, I would have missed these opportunities. And also, you have to look at the things that come along that could be very tempting, but is it your goal? Sure, it's nice. Sure, it's great. But is that what you were shooting for? And you have to learn to stay true to where it is you set your sights. Stay on your course. Stay in your lane. Stay on your target. And so these are a couple of very important skills that I used at that moment in my life to make a dream come true. And you can too. There's nothing magic about it. It's all within a given, very well documented process and system. And I will continue to talk about this and build upon this as I go forward. Wishing you all your dreams come true. This is Tula. Have a great day.